Welcome to the Halast Media Rental Agreement training. The purpose of this training is to give you a complete overview of the Halast Media Rental Agreement and how to complete it correctly. There are 3 key parts to the training. Part 1 is the introduction to the rental agreement. Part 2, we will dive deeper into the agreement, specifically exploring the different sections so that you have an understanding of what each means. And Part 3 will bring it all together. At the completion of Part 3, you will have a clear understanding of how to complete the agreement for each of the different types of borrowers that you're going to come across. Let's get started. To introduce you to the rental agreement, we're going to start with the benefits for you as the sales rep and why you should take the time to understand the agreement rather than just throwing you in head first. We will look at what the purpose of the rental agreement serves and finally a quick overview of the different sections that make up the agreement. My guess is that in a perfect world as a salesperson, you would love nothing more than for every agreement you sign up to fly through to approval. As a result, the commissions are rolling in quickly and often. Whilst it's unlikely that every agreement is going to get approved, there is some very simple habits you can employ to ensure that you maximise every opportunity. Simply take the time to complete the agreement and check that it's filled out correctly. By carefully completing the agreement with the customer up front and taking that extra 2 minutes to check the agreement is completed correctly, which by the end of the training you'll be comfortable with, you can literally save yourself hours or even days in lost time not selling and delayed commissions. Let's take a look at 2 timelines to illustrate why this is. We will first take a look at what an error-free timeline looks like. What we have here is a typical timeline of all the steps involved from you completing the agreement with the customer to receiving your commission. The first thing to notice is that the average time from new agreement to your commission being received is around 13 working days. So let's explore this a little bit more closely. Day 1, you're out signing up your new customer. You've taken care in completing the agreement, asking the right questions, and you've taken the 2 minutes at the end to ensure there are no errors in the agreement. After you send it on to be checked, your admin confirms that it's all good and it's sent off for assessment. By day 4, assuming your customer is deemed a good credit risk, you will have your approval locked in, which allows the installers to get the screen in. As you can see, we're at day 9 when installation is complete. Installation is confirmed, the final steps are completed, and the commissions are then transferred to your company, ready to be forwarded to you, which occurs at around day 13. But what happens if signatures are missed or sections are not completed correctly? What does that do to the time frame until your commissions are received? Well, unfortunately, on average we see at least 5 days added to the timeline. Now, why is that? As you can see, the process starts the same with your customer. Where there are errors in the agreement, 2 things happen at checking or alternatively at assessment. Number 1, the assessment process is paused until the errors are corrected. Agreements cannot be assessed for approval where errors exist. 2, you as the sales rep may need to go back out and see the customer to get that extra signature or piece of information, whatever the error might be. The flow onto this is that you won't be able to sign up new customers while fixing errors that could have been avoided. There will be circumstances from time to time as a result of assessment that extra information may be required from the customer to get the approval. Much of the delays we see could be avoided by simply taking a couple of extra minutes to either ask the customer a couple of questions or check the agreement before leaving. Unfortunately, what we've found, as you can see, is that on average a minimum of 5 days is added to the timeline before commission will be received, time which often can be avoided by taking the 2 minutes to check. These 5 days occur due to the time to go back and see the customer, sending back through for checking and then getting back to assessment. So now, where we were at day 9 with install complete where there was no errors, it may not be until day 10 before you get an approval with the delays carrying through the remainder of the process. Day 15 for install, and at the soonest it'll be 19 working days before receiving a commission. That's an additional 6 days, which easily could have had another 7 days added if you happen to miss the commission cut-off and have to wait another week. So it's quite clear. Take the extra 2 minutes of care with checking and you put the percentages back in your favour by ensuring you aren't experiencing unnecessary delays and the whole process is as streamlined as possible. If we want to ensure the agreement is completed correctly, it's important you understand what the agreement does and why it is so important. The rental agreement serves two purposes. Number one, it is the customer's application for finance, capturing the required information for the financier to be able to assess the application and make a decision as to whether they approve or decline the request. And the second purpose is where the application has been approved, then that same document now becomes the legal agreement between the customer and Halast Media. It is specifically designed for easy completion by being broken down into sections. It confirms the customer's ongoing obligations and has important disclosures, terms and conditions, and also includes the details for repayment of the finance facility. So what are the sections of the agreement that you will need to understand? As mentioned, the agreement has been designed to be as easy to complete as possible and to avoid unnecessary errors occurring at the time of completion. Sections 1 to 8 make up the first 5 pages of the document, and they're all the sections that require the customer details to be filled in or require signatures. It is a 15-page document, and the remaining pages from 6 to 15 are made up of the terms and conditions of the agreement. So that's really a quick introduction to the rental agreement, with the key takeaway being to take your time when completing the agreement with the customer and take that extra 2 minutes to check before leaving the customer, as errors do add unnecessary delays, as we saw, to the overall process.